Hello, America. Yes. I've been going on the other side. Excuse me. Wethersfield parents and Wethersfield students. Some of the identity of being a student and of being a parent, some of the parents are criminally foreign influenced as the intelligence community. New Britain Superior Court recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they have roles with various natures of organized crimes with you kids, like with a Cololo family and with one's named with the name. Well, others further with the principal child abuser. There's a Mr. Emmett involved with you kids, and police with the names Mendez, who are involved with various nature of organized crimes with you kids, bad things, wire crimes with you kids, falsified police reports, roles with crime scenes, attaching you kids to fake conversations, fake ties to each other kids, fake motivations for their behavior around you. And there's an illusion they use because it's manifest where and how they've been used remotely already, all sides in criminal and civil cases, and the interbranch switching names, switching sequences, putting fake things into databases. They have probation officers and they have body dumping spots of murders through time that have connections between them. Keep got brought up on Facebook, for example. It was confirmed on Facebook. There are people with the name Fianza, a whole bunch of people with conjunctions to the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices. They haven't had roles with organized crime acts and names with the World Trade Center and with the court next to it and other locations next to the World Trade Center, short term leading up to the attack and long term leading up to the attack, being and having been used criminally for an influence, where and how they have uses and roles with WFSB, with World Trade Center or predicate acts after it too. Faked conversations with me about that. Black pupils. Yeah, these are black KKK themed and Confederate flag themed names involved through time with drugs and medicines crimes with the kids on off the state judicial branch offices and with people with the name Walters who confessed, recorded, demonstrated, confirmed there and others tied to him on my street involved with wire crimes of people that work for the telephone companies and people with the name Spada involved with judges and prosecutors and medical doctors and intelligence agency on off Old Town Cafe, where the intelligence agencies criminally foreign influence. Some ways they're making other people the victim. In some ways, Old Town Cafe is criminally foreign influence, making the intelligence community the victim. And the difference between that is also used. This is per the people involved also on off Web House and on off the witch trials place. Uh, and other adjacents and conjunctions to it. Know how an adjacent is distinct from a conjunction and know how they are simultaneous. The simultaneous is shown to reason, appreciates the simultaneous with subject treatments, and reason appreciates the order of the finite and sequence truth and appreciates identity other. See, they're lying, our interbranch have been lying about what they feel about what has been written on Facebook because they needed to hide what came first. And they've been roles with all names on all sides of criminal and civil cases, which is also part of the answer where and how they would they could stay motivated so long to keep other things, others ourselves, blamed for things like slavery, where and how also at the same time our founders told us to blame the breaching method, the human fact human nature breaching method that used torture, extortion, and fact human nature slavery sickly distinctly against everyone simultaneously to use functionally how it measured and maintained reason capable of discerning a breaching method responsible for it. And most critically, needing to have been named by science and reason and logic. But instead, other things, others themselves blamed for what that caused originally, what it causes, what it's relative to the cause of now, but it also caused the uses of it to screen its own use, singular. It made hyper additional other apparent motivations. So rather than be victims, predators, and when they realize, fix it, it's not just because there's other bodies involved with them since they were kids. They also have delusions mixed. Your stewards, the people that use my name in the news as the interbranch and their sources, and that forced the principal child abuser. At the same time, simultaneously, no, even though they were different times, they made more predicate acts, fake conversations with me about that and about the World Trade Center, WFSB, WTNH. Distinctly, they put fake emails and they planted evidences with some of the parents involved with the intelligence community, houses all along Ridge Road and conjunctions to it, all along Route 175, involved through time with federal evidence is crime, federal rules of evidence is crime. There's a Joshua Schumacher involved with KKK themed, black themed, and the difference between public schools and private schools rolls with various natures of investigations. Investigators use remotely criminally foreign influence, child abusers that are KKK themed, black themed, interreligious themed, interreligions too. They have a Jewish community center also further involved with the child offenders and people involved with this. And these are also people with, police departments, police chiefs retired, involved with the same house with the name Cololo, tied to a Phil Cololo, who also rode his bike by here. I don't know how many I noted it somewhere online. But they've been searching for what I say online because I caught them the same way the breaching method uses them, criminally foreign influence. They tell lies, they put fake things in databases, then they can't go back and defend that. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that it's collusion. It was collusions associated with directions of people associated, like former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on the Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, also involved with criminally foreign influence uses of the syntax nature of the lawyers of the presidents and of the police chief and of the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet, and his co-defendants. Also involved with those locations next to his lawyer's office, involved with foreign and domestic medical families, putting fake conversations with people, fake evidences into databases, uses of investigations remotely, criminally foreign influence, planting fake motivations for it too, where they do and don't get caught. The difference of that, because all that is used, it's just manifest. Those things are manifest where and how they're haven't been used remotely. There are military associated with these spots next to the state capitol. There are proofs that they tried to pretend to know me by taking me in the capitol with a Mark Violet as one of the ones with Ray Cololo and people on Elm Street in Wethersfield and Rocky Hill with foreign and domestic military leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. And as roles with locations next to shipping locations and with the people involved with shipping locations who also have timed collusions at corners of streets near me with the witness protection and program involved and the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso and the confessions about that and roles with child abuses and other natures of federal evidences crimes and other natures of federal crimes with judges and prosecutors associated with and people on off the state judicial branch officers and involved with Kevin Dillon and a Dillon family and a whole bunch of people tied to them and their neighbors, reported neighbors. I don't know where they live. And he had a guy who said he was his partner, who's one of the ones also involved with teachers I had who I never had personal conversations with them, but they're involved with people who have roles with home break-ins in my area. And the other classroom mates had roles with that, and with the intelligence community that had family, they used to live there. I don't know what that guy's name is. He's another one who said he was a partner of the Detective Dillon. I don't think he's still a detective. He must be. In other words, these are people with the FBI too and state police interstates. In other words, and people with the name Zano. There are people with the name Zano involved all along Route 3 and all along roads and routes, planting evidence, identity theft, fraud, slanders, fake ties to people, fake nature of ties to people, attaching people to fake locations, while others are doing that with them for additional. And the difference between their motivations is used because there's a hyperforeign body. There's a breaching method involved. For example, to begin with, for science, that's undeniable. See, that's replaced. That's how they get away with denying it. It's relative to how they got away with denying the importance of in the revelations that come from short words like we have the same color eyes. Oh, but we have different the same color eyes with the exceptions too. Nature shows us how to describe things tactically ulterior. And what happened? What happened? How come we stopped talking about this? Obviously, the ancients talked about this, but then slavery came. What caused slavery? What science shows us it is more probable and more practical that a transnational criminal enterprise that involves overt criminal enterprises and overt criminal insidiousness mixed with formal law insidiousness, and they realized where they were going to get caught interculturally. Because nature holds us needing to be independent, needing to be unity at the same time, human species body of individual bodies. No, they shall promote vaccines. The species longs to shadow box. Some rest, I tell best. At least some try to pace. Some try and pace. Vaccines way hurts not one. It brings full grace. But shadow boxing is a great aerobic exercise, but it's totally different with boxing gloves on. It's way better for shadow boxing. And I would recommend professional fight gloves because they are more aerodynamic than look for something because you just want to go nice. There's a little differential in there. So in other words, people. Oh, Wethersfield. I forgot what the subject was. Every subject is tied to this stuff. See, we have had the sciences have been obfuscated. The identity they share has been. Boxing, martial arts, and wrestling, for example, they're about fighting, but they're about fighting by the rules. See, there is a nature of treatments of what is positive or negative by science that appreciates the difference between positive as a criminal insidiousness nature of positive. So, and there are also delusions that there are doctors who have delusions and they have criminally foreign influence, factory nature, quality aspects of nature. And they have crime methods with doing tricks and putting little fake things in databases, fake motivations between the kids, because that's exploited at other locations where types of experts look at evidence and things that are typed in databases and where it's relative to where and how they give significance to things. Too late. Where relative, a whole bunch of murders are tied that came up at once and untimely deaths. There was an untimely death reported at Trinity College, even if it was made up. There were a whole bunch of other untimely deaths at the time. And these are on people involved with the only locations that can counter such, who have been using those locations with the foreign and domestic intelligence to hide lie progressions, to hide their roles with crime methods, predicate acts methods, predicate acts with facts methods at other ages of campuses. And if people try to describe it, makes it sound like people knew each other. They never were. They never did. It's a method that does it so consciously to keep people not wanting to go back and care about details, incapable of going back and dealing with details, certain type of victim / hyper victim. And so then it also needs them to pretend the person telling is lie about their motivations in response to it, because it's screening foreign bodies involved with them. So, for example, there are Koreans involved with people with the name Violet and people with the name Nick LaPera. And I don't know he has brothers. I don't know their names. I don't know their family. And there are people next to the food bag in Wethersfield and where the police station is now there and next to where they used to be, who are involved with foreign and domestic medical community, involved with identity thefts and fraud, slanders. Now, there are kids of the intelligence community and there are adults of the community intelligence at the same time with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones, kids and adults on Facebook and people on off murder spots and conscious uses of the insidiousness of logic A through Z, where there are means to discern where how it is that people are blaming other things, others ourselves, and that is being maintained an outcome. Where our founders communicated to us for us to blame the value of the breaching method itself with reason for slavery. And they also blamed us to blame the people trying to speak against slavery by blaming our founders. They told us to blame them too. And see, they're pretending that's the nature of debate and we should bring this before court if we have a difference, or it's politics. These are predicate acts with facts, natures, as criminal insidiousness nature / hypercriminal insidiousness nature. So Wethersfield town offices has people involved with identity thefts and frauds and slanders with judges and prosecutors all along the original. Wethersfield, Connecticut is the last of 13 counter-extorted colonies. And there were more than 13 colonies. By the counter-extorted positions within colonies where people were strong enough if they could extort them for a little bit of time. Now they changed their syntax. That crazy breaching method, if people did that, something like that, and then went back and changed, in other words, because the laws were designed to make everyone hurt each other and pretend the other at the same time or blame other things, others themselves for the cause of it. You know, and hurt anyone who wasn't collusion with it, censor anyone who was in collusion with it, forcing quality aspects of fact-keeping nature. 2, simultaneously tactically delusions wrought increasingly because of their roles keeping people, even when they're also as unities and counters to it as collusions with itself, keeping itself and nature's and all identities of voicings for humanity formal, incapable of defending themselves per remote uses of those locations' names. Also further as the locations' names, because we are further identity as grounds voicings per how nature works. Nature is a word for identity. For example, per me, per YouTuber Anthony Wall, A.K.A. Romulus, per Romulus science. We must be this together. It's an identity of relationship to itself. Alpha and Omega and Yin Yang are about the same thing, distinctly, non-distinctly, simultaneously / hyper simultaneously. Yin Yang is about the variable, the hyper variable. I mean, Yin Yang is about the hyper constant. Alpha and Omega is about the hyper variable. And modern religions are more probably and are demonstrably, in other words, about how grounding logic to demonstrate it is more probable and demonstrable that the ancient republic became criminally foreign influenced. And other exceptions that existed became criminally foreign influenced, re-engineering of themselves and not remember properly. Same way Native Americans. And the republic was revealed knowing it was the value of every other human species bodies of its volume science. That one that had, by the hyper simultaneous, that has Our species manifests two eyes, quality aspects, nature, just like the other species bodies, even the insects. And it wants us to describe it its way, which discerns its identity in relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that equally. And then three identities of zero came. And then matter came. And one, the hyper one, created this all. Vaccine, species, change. Species body, we're in the same ancient trap. Evolution science should only feel like game /S or else to sense. Only an individual to define the order of the finite. Yeah. The meanings from out of nowhere appear. Evolution science should only feel like game /S. So make sure that you get them onto one name and sequence, because retired police chiefs have roles with drugs and medicines crimes that are coupled simultaneously with wire crimes and other natures of predicate acts with fax methods, falsified police reports roles with remote uses of names in all sides of criminal and of civil cases. Therefore, before that, and then other locations, which is relative to their motivations for roles with collusions. At crime scenes and next to them, even the worst ones. Vaccines, prepare.